Happy Saturday. Hope everybody watching the show is having a fantastic weekend. You're watching 76ers Now by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. Thanks for being here with us. Coming up, 3 players that need to play better for the Sixers. You think about where this team is at right now. It's getting a little bit dicey in the Eastern Conference standings. They need some players to play better and improve in order to help the Sixers climb up those Eastern Conference standings. First, Philadelphia taking on James Harden and the Clippers on Sunday. James Harden, as Joel Embiid would say, type FLAC down in the comments section if you don't like the beard. Let's have a discussion about Buddy Hield. He was really good after the 76ers traded for him at the NBA trade deadline. Of late, though, he has not been good, and the shooting numbers on the downtick. Buddy Hield, really good start. I like the playmaking. He was in fuego from beyond the arc, but this slump has certainly been ugly. You look at the numbers over the last 5 games, and he, of course, got taken out of the starting 5 rotation from Nick Nurse, and 20.8 minutes per, 10 points per game, 2 rebounds, less than 2 assists, and those numbers are down from when he was creating surprisingly off the dribble, but the shooting numbers have really struggled here. 42.5% from the floor, 31% from three-point range. When your game primarily is living around the three-point arc and you're known to be a three-point specialist and that is the value that you bring to your team, you better make sure that you're knocking down some threes. I remember I was playing freshman basketball, Bayard Rustin High School, Westchester, Pennsylvania. Our team was struggling a little bit, and my coach went up to every single one of us in the locker room and said, "What do you bring to the table? What do you think you do well?" And I said, "I think I score pretty well, and I think that I distribute well for my teammates." He said, "Okay, you think you score well? I want you to average 15 to 20 points per game for the rest of the season. Buddy Hield, you shoot well, you're a chucker, you simply got to do a better job of knocking down some three-point shots." So, Chip, what has changed after that fast start? How can the 76ers get Hield back on track after moving him to the bench? And is that a reason that he's been struggling because he is coming off the pine cold instead of being in that starting 5?
Yeah, look, I'm not sure if the move to the bench is 100% what caused this, but I would love to see him maybe get the ball in his hands more like he was when he first got to Philly. You mentioned it. He was attacking off the dribble. He was creating for others. I haven't really seen that as of late, and he's really been struggling to hit even open threes, and just not what you expect out of Buddy Hield. I understand, 5-game sample stretch. Shooters can be up and down, right? But he's someone right now that the Sixers, they need scoring desperately. They need three-point shooting. They've been a very bad three-point shooting team, especially since Embiid left. They need him to step up. I don't know what Nick Nurse needs to do. Maybe that he thought moving him to the bench, getting him against second-unit guys would help out. They got to figure out a way to get him going. I think give him the ball a little bit more. Let him attack like he was when he first got here.
Yeah, and we're here on Saturday, right? Round of 32 in the NCAA tournament. Buddy Hield has so much name value. What he did at Oklahoma in the regular season, in the NCAA tournament, as just a flamethrower from deep and a great scorer, great, right? But he hasn't really been able to stick with an organization. He's been dangled out there as trade bait. He's been included in trades. Is that part of the reason? Up and down, doesn't really give you much on the defensive end of the floor. And now for the Sixers here, you're looking at him, you're saying, your strength is shooting the basketball. And I get it. Sometimes shooters can be hot and cold. Has to find a rhythm, has to get better. S for start, B for bench. What should Nick Nurse do with Buddy Hield? Coming up next, 2 more Sixers. They need to be better. We told you that we were going to talk about 3 Sixers. We weren't lying to you. But first, Factor Meals, our sponsor for today's 76ers. Now, if you're trying to eat good, do it with Factor. Eating better is easy. With Factor's delicious, ready-to-eat meals, every fresh, never frozen meal, chef-crafted, dietitian-approved, and ready to go in just 2 minutes. You'll have over 35 different options to choose from every week, including Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, and Keto. Also, more than 60 add-ons to help you stay fueled up and feeling good all day long. What are you waiting for, yo? Get started today and get after those goals. You sign up and save. We've done the math. Factor is less expensive than takeout, and every meal, dietitian approved, like I said, to be nutritious and delicious. Factor is the perfect solution if you're looking for fast, premium options with no cooking required. Everything is delivered right to your door. Look at how savory the meals are. You pick your pre-made meals, prepped and cooked to perfection. You heat them up, you enjoy them. I also really like their smoothies as well. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner options. They have it all, and we got a deal for you. FactorMeals.com/SixersChat50. And the continued theme, another player who's been up and down and inconsistent, but a player who we've seen flashes from, and that's Paul Reed. Golden opportunity after the contract, after Joel Embiid went out, to really stake his claim as a very viable player on this Sixers squad. And Paul Reed's been solid. He just needs to be a little bit more productive on the offensive end of the floor. And the story of his career and why I think Doc Rivers didn't give him a bunch of playing time, good game, bad game, good game, bad game, sometimes makes some championship hustle winning plays. Other times, though, he makes some head-scratching plays and he can be a little bit out of control. Last 7 games for him, 24 minutes per. I get it, right? You're trying to get Buddy Hield going. Tyrese Maxey has taken a bunch of shots. Kelly Oubre has been more of a focal point of this offense. You have Kyle Lowry. At times, Nicolas Batum is involved in the offense. Tobias Harris, after the injury, once he comes back, he's a focal point as well. So 7.7 rebounds, those are solid numbers. A block per, a steal and a half, you will take that production. But think about how much better this production could be if Paul Reed was just a little bit more efficient from the floor. 37% when you're a big is as bad as it gets. And it's as low efficient as it gets for a steady NBA rotation player. And Paul Reed, after that Suns game, I think it was, is when he took to X and said, and I appreciate the honesty here, I played like shit. Look, Tyrese Maxey played like crap as well. He was ice cold from the deck. And here's what Paul Reed had to say about his play. I like somebody who looks inward, looks in the mirror, and takes accountability. You are starting to see some more of my package. For like my whole career, I haven't really been able to show all of what I can do. Is that a shot at Glenn Rivers? As I get more minutes, it's coming out, and you're starting to see a glimpse of it. The cold-blooded clutch 3 at the end of the game against the Knicks was awesome. I want to see more of that, and he's right. He's showing what he can be. He's always been a late developer. At the college ranks, he was kind of overlooked a little bit, and let's give credit to B-Ball Paul. Has come a long way, Chip, in his career. Still very active defensively, starting to improve that jumper, even though the form is hella ugly. But Paul Reed just got to be a little bit more consistent in my eyes.
Yeah, and I don't have him on here necessarily because he's been bad and I want him to just be a little bit better. I have him on here because he's been solid, but I see another step he can take, right? We've seen how far he's already come in his career. I think there's another level he can get to. I think he can get to being one of the premier backup bigs in the league. There's no reason, in my opinion, that him and Mo Bamba should be playing pretty much the same amount of minutes. I get Paul Reed's undersized. He plays a lot bigger than what his size is. But I just see so much potential, particularly in his offensive game. Like, it's still just not quite refined enough. It's not as bad as it used to be, but he's just not completely all the way there with the ball in his hands in the post. Look, we've seen it in the G League level. I know it's a completely different level of competition. It's never going to be what it was there where he's putting up over 20 a game, but he can shoot it a little bit. He has some offensive game. I'd love to be able to see him take that next step. And you know, the reason why the Sixers paid him and kept him, didn't let him go to Utah because they saw the potential. I'd really like to see him take that next jump, and that's why he's here.
Yeah, kind of a good flex by Danny Ainge to force the Sixers into having to pay him because they matched the offer. And Paul Reed, came into the league when he was 19, 20. He went to DePaul, not a college basketball powerhouse by any means. He's still only 24 years old. So there is room for him to grow, as Chip alluded to. He can get better. Again, the big word that I've obviously thrown out there a couple of times at this point, consistency. So can B-Ball Paul be that long-term backup option for Joel Embiid? Because I also like the pick-and-roll type of ability. If he adds that three-point shot a little bit more to his game, why for yes and for no. Nicolas Batum, time to step up. And earlier in the week against the Miami Heat, he made a lot of really important plays, and they talked about it on the broadcast. Mark Jones, Outkick Woke All-Star, and who else was on the broadcast? I forget who else was on the broadcast that night, but they were talking about Nicolas Batum, how if you looked at the box score during that game, you'd be like, oh, Nicolas Batum hasn't really done all that much. He actually made a lot of plays that moved the needle for the Philadelphia 76ers. He was very good early on. After that James Harden trade, has not been good without Joel Embiid. Of course, that's understandable. I think it was Doris Burke, by the way, who was on the broadcast. And he's not been as good without Joel Embiid. Look, you get it, right? When Embiid's on the floor, Batum doesn't have a lot of focus toward him from the opposing defense. But his last 5 games, and this is really why the Sixers are having issues here. Harris out, Embiid's been out. You expect some of these players to try to carry the water a little bit, and they haven't at all. 4.5 points, 4.5 rebounds, assist and a half. The field goal numbers are down, 3-point numbers down, and I think that is a byproduct of Embiid not being on the floor. There is a correlation there because it's looked harder for the 76ers offense to get going and put the ball in the hoop and put the ball in the basket. And when you have Embiid, things are made easier because all of the attention is centered toward him. So same thing as Buddy Hield here. I need better splits from Batum. And I need him to continue to be that veteran player that he is, glue guy type of guy. But when the pressure's on, that's when you need to play a little bit better, and the pressure's on. Embiid out, Harris been out. You're in this playoff run. You're falling down the playoff standings. Now is the time to get it together, and hopefully they watch this video and they're able to do that. So who needs to step up the most for the 76ers here? Talked about 3 players. Anybody else? If so, drop those names. Have a great rest of your weekend. We'll see you early next week with more coverage.